All right, level 2 is all about the Pythagorean theorem. So as a reminder, the equation for the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, where c is what we call the hypotenuse. Now, I used to call it the hippopotamus when I was a kid because I thought it was funny. I wasn't funny, but I used to call it the hippopotamus. All right, so when we use the Pythagorean theorem is only when you have a right triangle. What type of triangle? A right triangle. So when a right triangle happens, these A's, B's, and C's are the side lengths. Okay, now A and B are the two sides that make up the right angle, so they'll meet at the right angle. If you trace them and they don't meet at the right angle, those are not A and B. C is the side that's across from the right angle. That's a hypotenuse. Okay, so C will not touch the right angle. So if you highlight C and you end at a box, you are not on C. All right, so now that we've got that all squared away, we want to find the missing side of the triangle, and here's how we do this. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to look at the sides that I have. Okay, I'm going to highlight, draw over the 28 that I have. Then I'm going to draw over the 35 and figure out what sides that I do have, whether it's A, B, or C. So if I'm looking at the blue does not touch the right angle box. So I know that the blue is the C. Okay, so 35 is C. Now 28 you could mark as either A or B. With the legs, it does not matter which one you mark as A or B. So I'm just going to mark it A, and we can move on. So this X is what we're going to call B. Okay, because it's the other leg. So now I've got 28 squared plus B squared is going to equal C squared, which is 35 squared. Okay, so here's where numbers might get a little bit large and you're going to want your calculator. So 28 squared is 784 plus B squared equals 35 squared is 1,225. Okay, now in order to solve for B, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 784. So B squared equals 441. Now something that you might not know is how to undo something that's squared to really solve for the only number. So I'm going to go ahead and square root B, and then I'll square root 441. So by square rooting B squared, I'm just going to get 1B, and always check to see if that number that you're square rooting is a perfect square. So in your calculator, you're going to hit 441 with the square root. And you should get 21. Okay, so that means our missing side is 21. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, again, I'm going to highlight the sides that I have. So here's 1, here's 2, and the unknown side is over there. Okay, so looking at the sides that I have, the blue and the red, they both touch this right angle in here. Okay, they both make it up. So that means I have the sides A and I have the sides B. So I'm going to have 48 squared plus 14 squared. That's going to equal C squared. Okay, or you can really call it X, it doesn't matter. Then we're just going to go through the process like we did before. We're going to do 48 times 48, which is 2,304, plus 14 squared, 196. And then now, since the C, what I'm solving for, is on the side by itself, I can add 2,304 plus 196 and get 22,500. And then again, to undo the square to get just one C, I'm going to square root c, that gives me c, and then I'll square root 2500. Again, making sure that just check to see if that number, since it is so large, is a perfect square by square rooting it. And I'll show you what it looks like in the calculator if it's not a perfect square. But in this one, you've got c to be 50. Okay, now the next part in level 2 is do the following three sides form a right triangle. You must use math to prove if it is a right triangle. So here's what we do in order to prove if it is a right triangle, is we test the Pythagorean theorem. Test Pythag theorem. Okay, does a squared plus b squared equal c squared? Okay, that's the question that you're answering. Now, here's how you figure out which one is A, which one is B, and which one is C. The only big one that matters is the one on the end, the c squared. So you look at the largest one. The largest one will always be the hypotenuse. Maybe something to write down. Largest one, largest side is always the hypotenuse. I ran out of room. That's okay. All right, so that's always the largest side. Now, it does not matter what you label as A and B. So the 15, let's just say that's A, and the 36 is the B. So I'm going to take 15 squared plus 36 squared, and I'm going to answer the question, does that equal 39 squared? Okay, so I'm going to say 15 squared is 225. 36 squared is 1,296. And 39 squared, is that right? Is 1,521. So I'm going to add 225 plus 1,296, and I'm going to get 1,521. And since that does in fact equal what I got for c squared, these sides do form a right triangle. All right, next one. Let's see if these form a right triangle. So again, our largest side is 50. So this is the one that's going to equal C. So 17 and 47, I'll just call those A and B. So 17 squared plus 47 squared, does that equal 50 squared? Okay, that's the question that I'm answering. So 17 squared is 289. 47 squared is 2,209. And 50 squared is 2,500. All right, so I'm going to add up 289 plus 2,209, and I'm going to get 2,498. Now, 2,498 is not the same as 2,500, so because they don't equal each other, this is not a right triangle. Okay, RT is an abbreviation for right, so you can use that if you're writing an explanation. So it's not a right triangle because a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared. Okay, so this could be a triangle, it's just not necessarily a right triangle.